Neuroscientists have discovered that the human brain creates fake problems even when your life is stable, predictable, and going well. This happens because your threat detection system evolved for an environment full of danger: predators, starvation, injury, and social rejection. In the modern world, where most external threats are removed, your brain doesn't shut down the system. Instead, it redirects that machinery inward. With nothing to defend against, your mind begins inventing threats, exaggerating minor inconveniences, and turning neutral events into perceived danger. You're not imagining the anxiety. Your brain is simply fulfilling its ancient job description. Researchers identified an overlooked mechanism driving this effect: baseline threat requirement. Your brain expects a certain amount of threat per day to justify its own alertness. When real danger is too low, the amygdala increases its sensitivity, lowering the threshold required to activate stress responses. Suddenly, a late message, a small mistake, or an ambiguous facial expression triggers a biological reaction originally designed for life-or-death situations. Your environment becomes safer, but your stress becomes stronger, because your brain recalibrates danger downward. Another surprising driver is the brain's need for prediction. Humans rely on stable mental models to feel in control, and when life becomes too predictable, the brain paradoxically becomes anxious. Predictability removes stimulation, causing the brain's reward system to go quiet. To wake it back up, the brain begins generating hypothetical problems. What if this happens? Maybe something is wrong. I should worry about this. These mental simulations release dopamine and cortisol, creating a false sense of engagement. Your brain would rather give you imaginary stress than let you feel bored. Psychologists discovered that when people finally solve a major life problem, paying off debt, ending a toxic relationship, leaving a stressful job, the brain often refuses to relax. Instead, it redirects the freed cognitive energy towards smaller issues, magnifying them to fill the empty space. This phenomenon is called problem substitution. The mind is so accustomed to managing stress that it searches for new targets, inflating trivial situations into emotional emergencies. You don't create drama, your brain does. One of the most shocking findings: the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for logical thinking, collaborates with the amygdala in generating fake problems. When uncertainty is low, the prefrontal cortex becomes understimulated. To maintain activity, it begins analyzing imaginary scenarios, predicting unlikely failures, or rehearsing unnecessary conversations. This cognitive overdrive creates the illusion that something is wrong, even when your life is objectively fine. Your smartest brain regions are manufacturing stress to avoid boredom. Evolution plays an unexpected role in this mental sabotage. Early humans who underestimated threats died, but those who overestimated threats survived. As a result, modern humans inherited a bias for false alarms. Studies show that the brain is up to 5 times more likely to generate imaginary threats than ignore real ones. This skewed survival mechanism means your brain sees danger where none exists, because evolutionary history favored the anxious, not the calm. A hidden biochemical process makes the situation worse. When the brain releases cortisol during real or imagined stress, it suppresses the hippocampus, the region responsible for rational context. When the hippocampus goes quiet, your mind loses the ability to evaluate how serious a situation actually is. The result: tiny issues feel enormous, irrelevant details feel meaningful, and small uncertainties feel catastrophic. Fake problems gain emotional weight because cortisol temporarily shuts down the part of your brain that would normally shrink them. Social dynamics intensify this tendency. Humans evolved in tribes, where status and belonging were critical for survival. Today, your brain still monitors social cues obsessively: tone of voice, online comments, facial expressions, message delays, and interprets them as potential threats. When the brain doesn't detect enough real danger, it begins reading ambiguity as threat. A neutral expression becomes rejection. A delayed text becomes betrayal. A mild disagreement becomes disaster. Your brain defaults to threat until proven otherwise. Another overlooked factor is cognitive entropy, the brain's discomfort with mental stillness. When mental load is too low, entropy rises, causing the brain to feel unsettled. To reduce this discomfort, the mind generates negative thoughts or hypothetical issues to organize. It creates problems simply to have something to solve. This is the same mechanism behind overthinking, compulsive planning, and catastrophizing. Your brain hates empty space, so it fills it with fear. The most shocking truth is that your brain doesn't create fake problems because you're weak, anxious, or dramatic. It creates them because it evolved for a world that no longer exists. Your mind constantly scans for threats because that is how your ancestors survived. But in today's environment, that same survival mechanism misfires, creating invisible stress from harmless situations. Once you recognize that most of your fear is biological, not factual, you can finally break the cycle and stop letting ancient instincts manufacture problems your modern life doesn't actually contain.